Is Idaho a good place to live? That's what we're going to be talking about today. So if you're thinking about relocating to the state, be sure to stick around so you can get everything that you need to know to decide if this is going to be a good place for you to call home. Hey, if you're new to the channel, my name's Craig Flood. I make videos each week about what it's like to live in the state of Idaho. So if you're interested in that, be sure to subscribe. In addition to that, I'm a licensed real estate agent with amazing business partners all across the state, and we help people each week get moved here. And you can call, text, or email days, nights, or weekends, and we would love to assist you in your move. So today's video, we're going to talk about things like the quality of life in Idaho. We're going to talk about, does Idaho like outsiders moving here? I'm looking at you, California. We'll touch on the cost of living. We'll touch on the fact that you're going to get all 4 seasons here. We'll touch on proximity and accessibility, and I'm going to save the best for last. I'm going to tell you about that one at the end. And while I'm talking today, we're going to be driving through Southeast Boise, and I'm going to talk about a few things that we're going to see along the way. One of them is going to have to do with wildfires, and then we're also going to tour a home very quickly at the end of the video, and that home is going to have a view of the Treasure Valley. I know a lot of you moving here, you want things like view or waterfront or things like that, so that should be really enjoyable for you. But let's start things off real quick with wildfires. The hill just to my left was just recently burned. And when it caught on fire, I went ahead and ran out here and got some shots of it for you guys so that you can kind of see what that was like. The fire crew did a great job of putting it out. No homes were lost in this fire, but it was a brush fire that kind of rolled up right to the edge of homes here in Southeast Boise. Let's talk about fires in the Boise area. So it's October 4th. 2024 right now. We have a brush fire that's happening. So this just started last night. As you can see around this area, even where I am right here, there's not a ton of trees up in the foothills. You kind of have brush like this, some shrubbery. I'm originally from the Seattle area. We have huge forests. So if you get a fire over there, it really lights up. But here it's kind of like a slow burn, and it's slowly moving down the hill or up the hill. That whole valley looks like it got burnt. But other than that, we will often get smoke in the area during, August, July, September, depending. It'll kind of periodically come through. But that's usually from other larger fires that are far away from us. If you're coming from California, these are not the kind of fires that you're probably used to. They're a lot more manageable here. We just don't have as much material to burn on these hillsides. So now we're going to jump to the other side of the river, just north of the river. This road right here would take you all the way out to Lucky Peak. If we continued on it, you can kind of see on the map where we are. You can see over here, this is where Lucky Peak is. And I'm going to show you kind of where we're driving and ultimately where we're going to go see a home. All right, so let's kick things off with a controversial topic, which is, do Idahoans like Californians? Now, let me tell you a little bit about how I'm thinking about this. So I talked to a lot of people from California moving here. I know a lot of Californians who moved here, people that I'm personally friends with. I read the comments on my YouTube channel, and I kind of keep a pulse on how this is going. So first off, I'll say this. Idahoans really like their state, in large part how it is and how it was. Maybe they're not too excited about maybe how certain things are changing, and they have a great fear, maybe it's warranted, that if people come in from out of state, specifically California because of its track record, that they are going to potentially ruin the state. I think that is a warranted claim on their part. It's something I think about. Now, on the flip side of that, I talk to a lot of you who are moving up from California, and I hear your pain points. I hear why you're leaving. I hear why you feel like you have to get out of California. It is not a place that you're in love with anymore. It used to be something else. It used to be, in your mind, something better. And now it is just a place that you just don't feel comfortable in. Maybe you don't feel safe there anymore. Maybe you don't agree with the things that are happening. Or maybe you just can't afford to live there anymore. Maybe you're going to be a first-time home buyer, or maybe you're looking to buy a second home and you just cannot move into a second home. Or maybe you just had a family and you're just thinking, you know what, I just don't want to commit another 10, 20 years here because of how things are going. So I understand the reasons for wanting to get out, at least the people I talk to. I find I talk to a lot of like-minded people who would be a great fit here in the state of Idaho. I think most Idahoans, especially you YouTube commenters, you just assume the worst about people coming from California. You have no middle ground for the fact that they could be a fantastic fit for Idaho. I'm going to pause real quick. As you can see in this shot here, this foothill right here burned, and you see the fire came all the way down, and it looks like they bulldozed the line too that I'm seeing. So I bet these people were sweating a little bit, but that's something that's nice about fires when you do have them here is the hills just kind of brush. So yeah, the fire can definitely get going a little bit, but it's not heavily wooded. It's not like there's trees that are catching fire and falling down. But at the same time, I'm sure the people here were very, very nervous about that fire coming up. So it does happen. And even as I look ahead, you can see where some kind of heavy piece of equipment cut a line over that hill as a fire stop, and then they probably burnt the line back. Fires do happen here. We do get smoke. It is something that you need to be aware of. So going back to the question, do Idahoans dislike Californians? And I would say you will probably meet some people who are a bit disgruntled about it. But on the flip side of that, you're probably going to meet a lot of great people who are like, yep, that's great that you're from California. My folks moved here from California 10 years ago, or I moved here from California 10 years ago, or my best friend's from California. And I think people take it on a case-by-case basis. If you're kind, friendly, not on a diehard mission to change the state, I think you're going to get a warm welcome. So I would say if you have some hesitation about moving here, maybe that's because you're reading comments or you hear stories. I would say from everything I've heard from the people who have moved here, who we have helped move here, they are very pleased with the move and they find people are very accommodating. All right, number 2, the second reason that Idaho could be a good place for you to live is going to be the improved quality of life and the safety. So depending on where you're moving from, a lot of the reasons that I hear why people want to leave their current state sometimes can be really centered around safety. You just don't feel safe anymore. Your community used to be safe, but you see things taking a turn for the worst. And it's always funny, too, when people reach out and they want to know, hey, we're thinking about planning a scouting trip up there. We want to get familiar with the area. We want to kind of get to know the neighborhoods and things like that. Like, what are the safest neighborhoods? And I have to chuckle a little bit. Obviously, everything's not exactly made equal here, but at the same time, Idaho is a very, very safe place in general, especially in comparison to some other cities where people are moving from. It can kind of just blow you away a little bit. So moving here, you're definitely probably going to get an increased sense of safety, which you can't really put a price tag on that. It's hard to quantify that. It's not super measurable for what it will do in your life, right? I think all the best things in life you can't measure, right? Love, can't measure that. Safety, can't really measure safety, especially the benefit that you get from that. Now, in addition to safety, now let's touch on quality of life. So again, quality of life, that's going to be judged by you. But what I find is that you will probably experience, depending on where you're coming from, let's just take California, for example. Things you're probably going to appreciate is less traffic, right? Getting out of that environment is probably going to take a lot of stress off your life. It doesn't feel so much like a rat race here. So overall, you're going to come here and you're probably going to feel safer and you're going to have less stress, which is definitely a plus. I think all of our doctors would agree. All right, number 3 on the list, which makes Idaho a good place to live, is going to be lower cost of living. So depending on where you're coming from, same thing. You could find that Idaho is going to be less expensive for you to live, which is going to allow for you to do other things. It's going to allow for you to get more house, or it's going to allow for you to kind of get the things that you want in your house, whether that's certain upgrades, or maybe you want to put a pickleball court in, or whatever it is, or it's going to allow you to kind of save and invest for retirement, or it's going to give you some wiggle room to get out and enjoy life more and pick up some hobbies, or it's going to allow you to expand your family, right? Maybe you're at 2 kids, you want to have 3, but you just can't afford it where you're coming from. So the lower costs of living could have a lot of drastic impacts on your day-to-day life. Again, which goes back to the last point, like less stress, that could really do a lot in terms of putting less financial burden on you or you and your wife or whatever the situation is. That's definitely going to be a pro of living in Idaho, is that the cost of living most likely will probably be cheaper, possibly not, but probably be cheaper than where you might be coming from if you're coming from a major city on the West Coast. All right, number 4 is going to be all 4 seasons. So in Idaho, you're going to get all 4 seasons. And what that can essentially open up for you, especially if you're coming from a place like California, is that that's going to give you potentially a lot better access to wintertime activities. And wintertime activities are great. Maybe you had them as a child growing up. Maybe you moved to Cali, you don't have them anymore. Or maybe you're just not close to a ski mountain. Again, you have some great wintertime activities. One of them specifically in the Treasure Valley, Boise area is going to be Bogus Basin. Now, again, because the cost of living is cheaper here, you kind of have less stress. It's less of a rat race. You might find, hey, there's more time for me to get out and go enjoy this and go tubing or go skiing or go snowboarding or snowmobiling. There's lots of different things to do in the area. And so the Four Seasons can be a pro. Now, some of you might be a bit nervous about Four Seasons. Like, can we do the winter? Can we handle that? One thing that I would say about that is that specifically here in the Treasure Valley and Lewiston, but in Treasure Valley and Lewiston, is that you're going to have a milder winter here compared to most. So the winters here are just not that extreme compared to other parts in the state. Like Coeur d'Alene, they're going to have a pretty severe winter. It's going to last quite a while. Just other areas are going to be like that. But the Treasure Valley is kind of this great way to get Four Seasons without going all out and committing to just an insane winter. Our summers do get a little hot here. We can get a couple days, maybe a week or two, depending on the year of 100 plus degrees. But other than that, we kind of have some hot summers. We kind of have some cold winters. But in terms of snow, this area can get covered in snow, but then the sun can melt it off in 2-3 days. So that could give you a really well-rounded year where you start to look forward to things like fall, then you look forward to winter, and then you look forward to spring, and then you look forward to summer, and then it all just starts over again. All right, number 5 is going to be family, proximity, and accessibility. So again, depending on where you're moving from, if you're coming from the West Coast and California, Oregon, Washington, Utah, Arizona, Texas, whatever it is, you have a great chance that you can easily get to family, whether that be driving if it need be, especially if you're in like northern Idaho, you could easily drive if you wanted to, or if that's people coming in on flights. So again, there are different options for you to figure out how you can either get out or people can get into you. And right now, this is we're just turning into Barber Park. It's killing me that I'm not fishing right now because the river just dropped a little bit. And whenever I drive past the spot, there's always people fishing right here. But this is a great spot here in Boise, Idaho to go either rafting in the summertime or go fishing. It's also a great spot just to get out for walks too. But again, depending on where you move from, family members who want to come visit you could find affordable flights to get here, or again, depending on where they are, maybe they could just drive, or maybe you could drive to them. That was a big reason that me and my family moved to this area. My wife's folks are up north in Idaho, and then my folks are out in the Seattle area, and we have 4 kids, and so flying is not always an option, but it's really easy for us to drive out, or family members to drive out, or family members to fly in and see us. It's a pretty quick flight. All right, now let's jet over. We're going to go look at a home on the hill here with a view, and then I'm going to give you that last point, which would be an encouragement to you to think about. So again, we're in Southeast right now. I know there's not a ton of new construction happening here, though there are some projects that do come up, but I think it's a diamond in the rough. And I always like to promote it and encourage people to consider it. I think it's a great option, especially compared to like Eagle or Star. I know a lot of people do head that direction. Typically, you can get some really good new construction out there with Toll Brothers or some other builders. But I do like to kind of keep Southeast Boise on the map for you guys, so it's on your radar as you're thinking about options. Now, before we touch on the last point of the video, I wanted to walk you guys through this home in Southeast. It's up on the hill. It's got a beautiful view. I know a lot of you want a home with a view, so this is going to be a good example of that. Let me show you around real quick, and then we'll finish up the video on the backyard. Now I'm going to spin a 360 to kind of show you what I'm seeing. So behind me, we have the kitchen, a nice island in the middle. As we turn a little bit more, you're going to have the living room, great, really tall floor-to-ceiling windows that are pointing out to the view. And then right next to me, hope you're not getting dizzy, we're going to have the dining room right here, which is just off the kitchen. The kitchen is just right behind you. Again, surrounded by windows on 2 sides. And then the house kind of then shoots up over here. You're going to have a bedroom back there with a bathroom, and then an open staircase that kind of sweeps around, carpeted, hardwood floors on the downstairs, and then an open bonus area up there and some bedrooms. So let's walk around and check it out real quick. So as we walk back into this corner, we're going to have an office. with a slider onto the back patio. And then back here, we're going to have a bedroom with a bathroom and walk-in closet right there. Now we're going to go upstairs, see what the bedrooms look like, see what this open area looks like, and then we're going to touch base on the views in the backyard. All right, up here, we're going to have this nice open bonus area. Something I love about this is that all this natural light comes in. We're going to have a bedroom right off this bonus with a bathroom just to the left, 2 sinks and a tub. Over to our left over here, we're going to have the master suite. Nice tall ceilings, nice master bathroom and closet. All right, here we are in the backyard. You can kind of see they have a large slider that opens up and makes a beautiful kind of pass-through from your outdoor space to your inside space. There are 2 more sliders on that side. You have the upstairs deck, and then this is your view. So this is Southeast Boise. You can tell it's pretty flat out there, and here we are kind of in the rolling hills. Right there, you kind of see what the rolling hills looks like. And if you're curious what a home like this costs right now, this home is listed at $1,595,000. And now let's touch on my 6th point. This is more of an encouragement for you guys. So something I hear from people is that they wish they would have made the move sooner. And so obviously hindsight's 20/20, but I would encourage you as you think about making a move. I know it's really hard to think about leaving your friends and family, completely changing your lives, finding a job. But I think what happens, and I totally fall into this category too, I've mentioned that to my wife. It's like, man, if I would have known what it was like, I definitely would have done this sooner. Just in terms of how our lives are living here. Like, I'm just like you guys. Me and my family relocated. And I remember what it was like going through that. But again, now that I know what I know, I'm just like, gosh, I'm so happy to be here. I'm so glad that we as a family made that decision to make that move. And so I would just encourage you, you're obviously watching these videos because you're contemplating that yourself. And I would say, keep doing your due diligence, keep watching videos like this, and take the next steps. Like, start putting plans in motion. If you think Boise or Idaho could be a place that you could live, then schedule a scouting trip. Reach out to us. Help us plan your scouting trip. Build out your itinerary so that you can decide if this is going to be a good fit for you. There are a lot of people who have moved here who would say, I wish I would have done it sooner. It's just been a great place for them. So I hope that Idaho can be that for you. And if it's not, then great. I hope that you can find the place that is going to be right for you. If you're curious to learn more about Idaho, be sure to watch this video next where I talk about the pros and cons of Boise, Idaho.